The difficulty we have still today in opening up and talking about sex. The body is a pure truth teller, and our minds are conditioned by society. All businesses are in service of someone.
Aisha Paris Smith, Somatic Sexologist and bodyworker, speaker and coach.
People talk about manifestation all the time, and for me, manifestation is literally taking that thought in our mind and allowing it to materialize into the world. I developed an eating disorder and I had terrible social anxiety. I'd lock myself inside and think that I'm just too unworthy to be around anyone. I'm very aroused. How do I get on and do my work?
A warm welcome to the One Club. My name's Afsal, and I am your friendly neighborhood membership manager at the One Club. And I'm going to dive straight into a story to explain what the One Club feels like. We're here with some of our members and the One Club Curious, so thank you all for coming today. In a not too distant future, well, actually, very far in the future, I lived a good life. I was a good man. And then I died. And as my soul went to heaven, I met an old man who was called the Grasshopper. And the Grasshopper said, "You've been a good man. You've lived a good life. I now give you a place in heaven." And I said to him, "Well, before I go to heaven, I'm really curious, and thanks so much for giving me a place. I'd love to visit hell. Just a sneak peek to see what it's like. I might have some friends there." So the Grasshopper said, "For you, okay, Afsal, anything." So he presented me these great oak doors, and I pushed through, and there before me, I saw a banqueting suite, as far as the eye can see. And on the banqueting suite, in the center, was running a banqueting table. And at each seat, there was a bowl of hot, spicy noodles, my favorite. And each person at the seat was holding a 2-meter long chopstick, a pair of 2-meter long chopsticks. But they were famished. They were hungry. Their skin was peeling off. Their eyes were bulging. They were shouting, "Help me." Because what they were doing was they were taking their chopsticks, plunging it into their noodles, and they couldn't feed themselves because the noodles kept falling off. I told the Grasshopper, "Get me out of here, this hellhole. I can't take it anymore with all these screams." She said, "Well, let's go to heaven." And we went to heaven in these great oak doors, and I pushed through with relief. And as I entered, I found another banqueting suite. And this banqueting suite had a banqueting table that ran right through the center. And every seat had a bowl of spicy noodles. And every seat had a person who was very happy and also had their 2-meter long chopsticks. But they were plump. They were joyous. They were happy. And they were plunging their chopsticks into each and everyone else's noodle bowl. And they were feeding each other. This was heaven. I like telling this story because the moral of the story is about feeding each other. But it's a piece of heaven. And that's what we feel or we strive to create at One Club, a piece of heaven, a safe space for members and those who are curious to come together and strike meaningful conversation, less transactional than other networking places, but more about what you believe in and how you believe in each other. And when we feed each other, we're feeding each other inspiration, motivation, ideas, contacts, resources, all of the above. We held a recent event, and it was a panel, a very powerful panel on female leadership. And the networking event that happened after was that more inclusive. It set the tone for everyone to being that more inclusive. Recently, we experimented with something called the Crash Club. And the Crash Club was where, as entrepreneurs, you'd come up and you'd pitch your biggest failure and how you resolved it. Not your successes, but your failures. As a result, the networking was a bit more authentic. People had sympathy for each other. People shared on a different level. And we were trying to create that where you're here today and you're going to meet each other, network, but more meaningfully. Today, the tone is completely different. We're going to set something up that it is an experiment, but networking is just a bit more intimate, a bit more sensual. And to help us get there, I warmly welcome a good friend of mine and one of UK's leading somatic sex coaches, Aisha Paris. Welcome.
Thank you, Afzal.
Excellent. So lots of questions I have for you, and I think everyone else has lots of questions for you today. But before you start, I wanted you to share with us what is it that you do, and how did you get into this space?
Okay. Okay, so somatic sex coaching is, you can sort of imagine life coaching. Everyone can imagine life coaching quite easily. You're sat not too dissimilar to this, and someone says, okay, I'm at A and I want to get to B. And the other person's role is to help you get there. Sex coaching is very different to sex therapy. In sex therapy, you're resolving an issue and over generally a long period of time. And then when that issue is resolved, you sort of go off and do your thing. In coaching, we want to get you not just out of the deep water and onto the shore, but we also want to get you dancing on the sand. We want to see you thrive in this area. Somatic sex coaching requires I teach and guide my clients into a state of embodiment. So we're not just thinking and intellectualizing a way through an issue, we're actually feeling. And by feeling and incorporating our body, we're getting in touch with what we don't know about the issue. So the body is the physical manifestation of our subconscious mind, in my opinion. And the body is a pure truth teller. And our minds are conditioned by society. And society says we should be a certain way. We should act a certain way in the bedroom with certain people. And the body just wants what it wants and needs what it needs. And when we listen to the nervous system, we get the truth. And so people come along and maybe they're struggling with sexual dysfunction, or their relationship's gone a bit stale, or they've just never actually had the confidence to really start their sex life, which can feel odd, especially if that person's very successful in other areas of their life and they can sort of feel a bit like an imposter. So I'm about getting people from A to B and doing it in the most pleasurable way possible. I'm also a sexological body worker. This means that I'm offering hands-on sex coaching. And hands-on sex coaching is not like going for a tantric massage. It's truly coaching, and it follows all sorts of hygiene protocols that might make it look more like you're going to a physician. And but at the same time, I'm generating pleasurable experiences for my client. And this is really important because we can go to a sex therapist. Say I had inorgasmia and I couldn't orgasm. I could go to a therapist and chat about it. Under no circumstances could I enter into the experience to show my therapist what's happening. We couldn't actually look at and break down what is going on. And so we don't actually gather any new information. We just regurgitate what's already known. By bringing in the body, we have sort of like, we have like cellular epiphanies.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Where we, in somatics, we might say body opening or somatic opening. And it's truly magical. And we don't know all the reasons why it works. I could pretend that I know all of this stuff. I don't. but it works. And I invite clients to work in a transformative basis. So they're very committed. We'll work together for 6 days.
Wow. Okay. 6 days.
Yeah.
It's not
1-to-1.
not a half an hour session.
No. Or they'll do a hybrid of online and in person. But yeah, and the other thing I'll say is, as a somatic sex coach, yes, I deal with people's sex lives. I deal with their deepest desires, but we also deal with the challenges they're having in the boardroom, the difficulties they're having with their children. Because believe it or not, the way we're behaving sexually is a great storyteller of the way we're behaving in many other areas of our lives. And the micro skills of great sex are also the micro skills of living a great life and running a great business.
Whoa. That's taking me in so many different directions there. How many people think they're missing out? Yeah, totally. Before I dive into the connection between what you've said, which I think is really powerful, I want to save that just for later. Connecting, body to the boardroom. I want to congratulate you, first of all, for your Channel 4 hosting one of the Channel 4 series, Virgin Island. If anyone's seen it on Channel 4, successful series. Had a lot of criticisms, I found. But I congratulate you for, I think they're funding the commission in the second season.
Yeah, second season is on its way.
Amazing. And it's about, if you haven't watched it already, 12 courageous adults who are still virgins, problem with intimacy, taken away on a tropical island somewhere, and given coaching and therapy of how to find themselves.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
This experience was wild. Nothing was new in terms of the activities and the exercises that you see on the screen, but bringing 12 people who don't know each other and 9 sex coaches also who haven't worked together before, and sticking them onto an island where there's not a lot of space to move. I mean, a private island, it sounds so wonderful. There's literally nothing. There's one place, one cantina where you go and you eat. You have to eat whatever's on the menu, and you're working from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. at night, and you have to be on constantly, ready for the camera. But what I loved about it was, there's 2 things that I adored about it. And the first was learning how they make a TV show. I mean, it's fascinating, and I'm just like so hungry to learn things in the world. And the second was witnessing the transformations, because we didn't have very long. We had 2 weeks to shoot everything.
That's quite ambitious.
Very ambitious. And these individuals were being incredibly courageous. At the same time, it's hard to get it out of your head. This is going to be shown to the nation.
Everyone's going to know that you haven't had sex in your, in their 20s, 30s?
Yes. And my work is founded upon creating safety. Unless you have safety in your nervous system, you can't actually get aroused, Like, it requires safety. Safety is like the first step on the arc to orgasm. And so there was a great deal more work required to get everyone feeling safe. And then, as you've seen, and I met up with everyone for the last episode, which was a couple of weeks ago. And there's what you see on the screen, and then there's what you don't see. There was a huge, incredible amount of extra therapy happening for everyone behind the scenes. And that wasn't shown partly because it doesn't make great TV, and also because some of the individuals didn't want to share the therapy.
Is there more stage fright, therapy around stage fright than it was?
No. It was therapy directly connected to what was coming up for them out of the exercises they were being invited to do.
Powerful stuff.
Yes, powerful stuff. And much of it didn't relate back to sex. It was about self-worth. It was about the trauma from their childhood, So that was incredible. And seeing people go from a place where they're struggling and shaming themselves to finding, so many of them quit their jobs and change their lives. And that's what I see with my clients too. They think they're just working on this little thing and the ripples are wild.
Amazing. You mentioned something there. Actually, what I'd like to do right now with the audience is a little game. 1 minute, let me pull my game up. Just to highlight something that you did talk about there. So you'll start. Let me start this game, and it's just a choice. I'll say 2 words, and you choose which one. We'll start with you, so everyone can see what.
I'm ready. Thank you for checking for consent. Appreciate it.
Always. So you just choose between the 2, and then just show how easy it is for everyone. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Okay. Salt or pepper?
Salt.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Pen or pencil?
Pencil.
Wait, see, it's that easy. Anybody here would like to give a go? Oh, Khadija. Fantastic. Do you want to shout them out? Okay, ready? Tea or coffee? Salt or pepper? Cat or dog? Pen or pencil? Chocolate or vanilla? Penis or vagina? Thank you. Okay, excellent. Anybody else? Yes. Tea or coffee? Tea. Salt or pepper? Cat or dog? Cat. Pen or pencil? Penis or vagina? Excellent. The reason thank you, well done, thank you very much, but give him a round of applause for being so brave there. I wanted to highlight something in there, something that you mentioned. You guys were terribly brave. I've done this before, where people hesitate before they say either penis or vagina, although it's amongst us. We share the same thing. It hasn't changed in centuries. But why is it so awkward sometimes to be able to share certain things in our lives? So it might be around sex. It might be around money. There's things as humans we shy away from completely, and yet we're all sharing the same thing. I am having a theory around there's some intergenerational shame around talking about sex that comes from either society or culture or religion that we've somehow inherited right now, and we're living in a view of our forefathers who were probably asked not to be a bit highly conservative about it. And yet we've been, inheriting, the Victorian age and various cultures and religions. Whereas right now we are quite open-minded and could probably share these things. So I wanted to explore with you, like you mentioned, some of the contestants or participants, or was it contestants? Participants there. They had the intimacy issues possibly stemming from their childhood. So is that a space I could explore with you? What's your take on that?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm hearing a couple of things. One is the difficulty we have still today in opening up and talking about sex with the frankness and the depth with which we might talk about our health or our holidays, yes. Right? And second, that there seems to be not just a difficulty in opening up and sharing about that part of ourselves, but also a physiological shutdown around it, shame. And so, yes, I absolutely feel that we are living and coming to terms with the effects of the last really 150 years of sexual behavior and sexual context that has been built up around us. And I'll say also that there are a few pieces to this. Religion plays a very big role.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget that sex is how we keep the species going. Like, that's what we're doing. We're keeping the species going. And it's fun, right? We don't always produce a baby when we have sex. But that's what our genitals, I'm guessing, that's why we were given genitals. That's the role they play. And we do still have to walk around each day like we don't have them, you know? Who is acknowledging that they have a penis or a vagina whilst they're walking around? It just doesn't happen, you know? And that is actually symbolic of how we have to also shut down and put aside on the shelf our sexuality in the majority of situations. And we were chatting before, and I was saying that arousal takes many people into an altered state because it's been made taboo. And so it's so exciting. It's so exhilarating when we go into those experiences, when we see pictures of genitals, when we feel someone coming onto us or attracted to us, or we see someone who we're attracted to. It's so thrilling that it literally shoots our nervous system offline. And people end up with porn addiction. They end up behaving in ways when they're aroused that when they're not aroused, they go, why did I do that? A bit like when they were drunk, right? Like, oh, I was drunk, I was having such a good time, and now I feel really silly the next day. It's the same with arousal. And part of that is because we haven't made space for it. So we need to make space. As we make space in society for people to be sexual, our nervous systems won't be so reactive, because as well as it going over there of like, woo, this is so exciting. What can I do with this energy? Let me touch everyone. We also go to the place of our body physiologically shutting down and saying, I won't let myself get aroused. And finding that we, even when we're in a context where it is safe, and we have the person who we feel bonded to or care about or attracted to, and they've given us consent, and we can't find our sexual energy, right? That's the same for men and women, right? They both come to me and say, I really want to have sex, but I don't have a libido right now, or my body's not doing what my brain is wanting it to do. And that's all down to societal unsafety. And yes, society is changing, but there's still a long way to go, right? If someone who's 50 today, when they were a teenager coming of age and starting to have sex, they would have been made very wrong and ostracized if they had sex outside of a relationship. They would literally have been ostracized by the rest of their community in the UK.
Yeah.
So so that's very recent.
Not too far away.
Yeah, it's very
It still
recent.
happens today.
And even though now we might have sexual wellness articles in the magazines and in newspapers, that actually rippling down into people's lives takes a little longer, and is also, it sounds terrible, but actually in a couple more generations, it'll be better because the people for whom it's still very taboo will have passed on. And so there will literally be more freedom.
Well, you say that, but I'm actually concerned about the future of sex. Because I
know where you're going with this.
I was at London Tech Week. Several of you were at London Tech Week. And actually one of our clients decided to create an AI companion. And that AI companion came in as a hologram. It was a social influence on app, but by night it could also be your companion. It could talk to you. It could be with you and say lovely things. And then he went a bit further where it was actually a physical doll, life-size doll. And he had lots of protests. I don't know if anyone saw the doll, and it was called My Mio. It had a lot of protests. There were feminists out there who were saying this is exploitation of the female form, and some complaints. But when I asked them how is it going, and he said, "Yeah, we've sold several," and I was shocked to think, well, this is more of a gimmick, but it wasn't. It was actually him taking it seriously. I'm selling this, is doing well. The fear I have is where we're replacing. I think.
okay, I hear you. We all love a bit of AI, right? And I don't know that necessarily a sex doll is going to legitimately replace a human being. I think that perhaps someone who has either not had a relationship for a long time or doesn't get all of their needs met by their partner, or who has actually never had the confidence of going out and dating, who now has a doll, is actually, if it goes well, in fact, if it goes well or if it doesn't go well, they're going to become more present to the importance of this level of intimacy and self-expression in their life. And I believe their hunger will increase. And also their need for reciprocity in this era to be responded to will also increase. And even if they, in the first instance, get a good hit off the doll, they're going to seek something more authentic, something more real, more genuine. And this also comes down to, often when we struggle to date or we struggle with sex, we're struggling to receive. We're struggling to receive the impulses of our body and to respond to them. We're struggling to receive our feelings in the moment. And when we struggle to receive, we're not nourishing. So we could be having loads of sex and still feel like that need is unmet in us. It didn't satisfy us because we didn't really receive what was happening. So I hope, in fact, I think I'm going to go further. I'm going to say I believe in the future of humanity. And no matter what happens with AI and dolls, we are always going to...
Or robots.
Or robots. You know, we're always going to yearn for that acknowledgement of another nervous system. To be seen by eyes with, you know, not something electronic behind it. We want someone to go on walks with. We want someone to go and live our lives with. We don't live our lives only at home.
But with the digitally native generation coming up, I can understand kind of everyone in this room being okay with that, saying that because they've experienced human intimacy at some level. So we may crave to go back to that. But with the digitally native young generation coming up, you know, how would they respond if they're socializing in a game and they're dating online for years without actually seeing the person, going via avatars?
Well, my friend, they were once babies and they were once feeling the nervous system of their mothers. We have all had this experience. They've done a study a long time ago when they took babies out of the womb and put them into, I'm going to say incubators. I don't know what they're called. The
washing machine.
You know the thing at hospitals where they keep the newborns safe?
Incubators, right?
Oh, they are incubators.
Like
For some reason, I feel like that's some kind of oven and they just didn't sound right. So they put them in incubators. They gave these babies everything they needed. And the babies started to die.
Yeah.
Because the one thing those babies didn't have was touch. We learn and we grow through touch. As babies, our survival depends upon touch, upon the regulation of another nervous system. It's one of the best things we get from being in a relationship. It's feeling another person. When my clients come to me, they come for my nervous system to feel calm and safe whilst talking about sex. You know, my clients can tell me, I'm going to be very frank. My clients can tell me they want to fuck me up the arse. Okay? My clients can tell me about their early life trauma and how they were molested by one of their parents. My clients can tell me how they've been cheating on their spouse for years and the sort of things they've done and the sort of lives they told. And I'm going to be cool as a cucumber, my friend. Cool as a cucumber. And in that acceptance and in that non-judgment and in that calm, they finally get to look at and see what's been going on, and they already know what they need. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Is people like, Aisha's the expert. Da, da, da. And yes, in some way I am. But we're all experts of ourselves. We all know what we need. Even when we're suppressing our body and deprioritizing our feelings and our emotions, there's a lot that still gets through. And so when we give them permission, and when we're with someone who's listening for the value in what our body is sharing, we trust it. And then we get to follow our own intuition, our own instinct, and start making huge changes in our lives that are very, very, very valuable and incredibly effective at getting us what we want and need.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much. On to the next question here, and this is picking up for something you said there around sexual energy. So as a quite a senior entrepreneur, I need, and I've got a bit of surplus of libido. I'm wondering if I could convert my surplus and change sexual energy into entrepreneurial energy. So if I'm feeling kind of horny, can I just go off and create a new business plan? But it's exploring this energy is quite, I don't know, primitive, primal. There's a lot in that energy. Am I being too selfish to say, can I turn that into entrepreneurial ideas?
No,
Would you know the mental process to do that?
Yeah, so why would that be selfish? Businesses are in service of someone. All businesses are in service of someone.
Indeed.
And our business is also a form of creative expression. Many
Yes.
of us are creative through the businesses that we think up and the services that we imagine. And, people talk about manifestation all the time. And for me, manifestation is literally taking that thought in our mind and allowing it to materialize into the world. And what does that require? It requires following our impulses.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Not stopping ourselves. Oh, I have this idea. I should call this person to chat it out with them. Or I should call this person to ask what they think of it, or to connect me with this person. And it's our ability to follow that energy, that excitement. Arousal is excitement.
There's a business plan.
Yeah. It's totally exciting, right? And so being able to notice, I have this excitement, this around, like, say, okay, this actually happened to me earlier today. I was like getting ready to come here, and I was like, actually super horny. I wish I had time for a bit of self-pleasure before I came along, but I didn't. I didn't want to be late. And so...
Thank you for considering this.
And so for other people, that would become uncomfortable. They would be like, I'm very aroused. How do I get on and do my work? How do I show up and hold space this way and concentrate in this way? And for me, instead, because actually, what is arousal? It's the flow of blood to the genitals, to the pelvis. It's the sensations that come along with that blood flow. It's like, I hate it when people use this word, but it's bliss. It is. It just feels really good. So instead of touching myself and moving into orgasmic states and going further up with it so that I could feel like released and then calm and grounded in a new way, instead I let myself enjoy the good feeling, and I use that good feeling to think about what I wanted to happen this evening, and I let myself get excited, and I let myself be in my body. And here I am now. I haven't prepped for this talk. I'm following my impulses. I'm trusting in where we're going. I'm totally present. And I'm super energized. Like, I'm ready to play. And I think what's also true is that in being able to hold and enjoy our arousal states, we become more attractive and more magnetic. Other people, their bodies can feel what's happening in my system. In fact, that was one of the first changes for me, I think, in going down this path. Before I started teaching and supporting other people, I had my own big journey through conscious sexuality. That's what I like to call it. And because it's non-dogmatic, I don't think that we have to have certain religious beliefs in order to make this work, you know? And I realized that more people were hitting on me. Yeah. And I was sure that it was because they could feel my calmness around my sexual energy, and it was initiating their sexual energy. And so they were drawn to me in that way. They were like, oh, it feels really good over here. I don't know why, but I'm feeling drawn this way, you know? And in business, we need that, right?
I was going to say, I do that all the time when I network. But you've said something really important there, that the parallels of how what you've just said, how do I convert that or use that to actually go and present or network? Because I want to attract people. So if I'm half sleepy or moody or frustrated and I'm going out there, obviously I'm not going to attract that people. But if I'm able to convert these energies into what you've said, that'd be very powerful. I don't know how to, though. If I'm horny, I'm horny. I'm not going to turn it into I'm going networking. But I'm trying to find a flow of how do I change that? If I'm horny, but I'm going to get some business.
Yeah, I mean, you want to give away all my intellectual property, my love, but I'm not going to do that. But what I can tell you is that while there are a couple of steps that you could take to support you with that, my friend Afzal, the first is when you're feeling very horny, rather than acting on it immediately, you could just take a moment and notice what you're feeling in your body. Yeah? So like this. So I've put my attention on my body, and as soon as I did that, my hip bones just slightly moved away. We're always holding ourselves and holding our posture and, trying to keep things together. And the moment I was like, okay, bring my attention onto my body, I just felt my my root sort of relax. And as I tune into my body, so there are 5 channels through which the body communicates with us. We're most present to thoughts. There are also the mental images of the mind. So if I was horny and not in this setting, I might be thinking about what do I want to happen next, right? And bringing up pictures that are sexy and satisfying for me. In this instance, there aren't mental images going on, don't worry. And so there's the thoughts, there's the mental images, there's the movement. So how does my body want to move in this moment? Well, I have yummy arousal in my pelvis, so I want to move my pelvis. So there's more yummy sensations coming from it, right? So there's this desire to move. Then there's the emotions. What emotions am I present to right now? Well, I'd say I'm feeling pretty content, feeling excited, feeling curious, feeling calm, feeling safe. And then there are the sensations themselves. That's the 5th way in which our body communicates to us. And our sensations tell stories. So for a lot of people, when they're aroused, the story is, oh, this is really frustrating, and I'm going to be frustrated all day. I need to sort this. I need to fix this situation. And the movement is actually an impulse towards their laptop to look at some porn, and or towards their genitals to sort themselves out. But if you can just slow down before actually going through your usual habitual routine of how you respond to feeling horny, and just tune it in and get to know it more, you'll be less reactive to it and you'll have more space to respond. Okay, so we're always practicing something, and a lot of people are practicing discharging their sexual energy.
True.
And we want to instead create a practice, which, by the way, none of you need me for, right? You can all imagine what would it look like to respond to my sexual energy rather than just get rid of it. What would that feel like? How would I, you can ask yourself, and you can let your imagination answer that. And then you can literally follow those steps. And people think they're silly or something, or they get self-conscious about it, so they don't do it. But we all know how to do that. So the first thing I would say is create more space around it so you're less reactive and you can play with it more. And then the second thing would be the breath. So our breath has a big impact on the level of orgasmicity we get from sex and from how fast our body moves up the arousal scale from, oh, I'm a little bit aroused to, I'm going to climax. So breathing, and like a lot of people, they hold their breath when they're aroused. And that actually means they like shoot up the arousal scale much quicker. Instead, you want to like, as you're sitting there, like feeling into what is this horny feeling in my body? Where is it? Where can I feel it? What is the feeling like? You also just want to like keep breathing, taking like normal, but slightly like slower breaths, continuous breaths. And that's also going to be super helpful.
I'm not feeling it. Do you know what? I've realized with you speaking to me there, I'm not on the same wavelength here. Because I think I'm just too much in my head.
Yes.
So I mean, I wish I could feel it in my pelvis when you're talking, but it's not happening because I'm still in my head. And I'm realizing that I spend most of my time in my head. I built a career as an entrepreneur supporting great visionaries. I find a CEO that's got a great vision, and I'm behind them. And I look at it and think, why? Why don't I have a vision? I don't. I latch onto someone else's. So you go to, let's say you go into work, and you go into a business setting, and I'm putting on what I call the bat suit. And the bat suit is what I look like to everyone else. What you're looking at the moment is the bat suit. But actually back home, I might be suffering from Tourette's. But when you see me, it's completely normal. And so converting energies seems important to me because I'm always in my head. So I don't know why I'm saying that, actually, but where that's coming from.
Okay. So you are an entrepreneur. You are a high-level professional. You have become successful through the things that you do in your head, through your intellect. Yeah? That's how you create value for people every day.
Agreed.
You're thinking, yes, and you're meeting their needs, right? And at the same time, you're deprioritizing your feelings. You're telling your body, no, I don't need the bathroom right now. I'm on a call or I'm in a meeting. You're like, no. It's not time to get sleepy now. I have a pitch deck to finish, right? So you're going through the whole day abandoning your body, rightly or wrongly, and living in your head. So why would you think that just because you want to have great sex, you can flip a switch and move back into the other? It doesn't work like that. We're always practicing something, and you're practicing constantly 90% of the day, maybe 95% of the day, being in your head. You're not very well practiced at being in your body.
Not at all. Actually.
No.
Yeah,
okay. And, our body is wise. It has its own intelligence. Like, they've found now brain cells in the heart and in the gut. It isn't what we thought it was. And so we need to respect that if we want to be in right relationship with our body, we're going to have to give it some time. We're going to have to get to know it, hang out with it a little bit. And we can't go from 0 to 100. And also, your very smart mind needs some evidence. It needs to know this is worthwhile. It needs to know Aisha's not talking shit. And so it's step by step. And if you're noticing, okay, I'm in my head and I want to be more in my body, when you wake up in the morning, before you think, okay, what's today about? What do I need to do today? What's my first action? Where are the kids? Right? All the things. What am I having for breakfast? All the things. Instead, just pause, okay? Like, you'll catch it. And the more you do it, it's like if someone wants to remember their dreams, they have to train themselves. First thing in the morning when you wake up, ask yourself, what was I dreaming? It's the same with this. So you wake up. I mean, I'm telling you this story because this is me. This is my journey. I have to relearn this sometimes. I spend a lot of time in my head too. People think like you get initiated into tantric sex and poof, you just like live 50% in your body and 50% in your head and everything's fine. No, like, we live in London. It is what it is. Everything is stimulating us to be actually in an upregulated state. So like in here, we have the bassy music, we have the artificial lighting, we have a room of people we haven't met before. These are all things that are actually upregulating us so that instead of feeling like relaxed and like our body is a safe place to be, we have to be a bit more vigilant. So waking up in the morning is great because most people feel safe in their beds and in their bedroom. And it's also early enough that you don't have a ton of threads that you have to put down in order to be present with yourself. So you wake up and your mind goes, where am I? What's today about? What happened yesterday? And you say, 1 second, let's just check in with the body. And you lie down and you notice what you can feel. You notice what emotion or mood am I in right now? What sensations can I feel? And some people really struggle with this, but a lot of people are really good at it. Really, really, really good at it. And they just needed space for someone to prompt them. If you're bad at it, you can start with, what temperature is my body? Where do I feel any areas of pressure? Just those 2 questions. And it will give you a lot. It will be the place where you start. So I'm going to invite you to, for a moment, close your eyes. Afsor?
We're doing this.
Yeah, we're doing this.
They're not doing this.
They're not doing. Oh, let's all do this, okay?
Right, let's do this.
Yeah, let's all.
I'm bringing you with me.
Let's all take a breath. And again, we're going to make a sound. Take a breath. Okay, great. Now we're going to take another breath, breathing in. And when you get to the top, just breathe in a little bit more through your nose. And now, it out. Okay, now sit back in your chairs. Sit back, lie back. Please use the back of your chairs. Let your shoulders rest. Let your back rest. Let your legs be restful and relaxed. And close your eyes. I promise I'm going to keep mine open and make sure no one does anything weird.
Thank you.
Okay. So let your eyes close and take another breath. Let your body soften on the chair and feel your breath moving through your body. Notice the thoughts moving through your mind and let them be there. No problem. Our thoughts are just data. They're giving us feedback about what our mind is prioritizing. And I invite you to notice anywhere in your body that's feeling a bit tense, like you wish it would relax a little bit more, and make any adjustments that you need. Otherwise, you can let that area be tense, trusting that the body knows what it's doing. And also noticing where's relaxed. Seeing if you can soften through your tummy, through your shoulders, letting your tongue hang heavy in your mouth. And then I invite you to notice the temperature in your body. Maybe different areas have different temperatures. Just noticing and trusting that you're right. And now noticing an area where you can feel pressure. That could be the pressure of the cushion behind you. Could be pressure internally. Just noticing. And then feeling for any emotions. What emotional state are you in right now? And the most basic emotions are sadness, madness, anger, frustration, and gladness, happiness, excitement, contentedness, and the sexual states as well. So just noticing where you are, what you're feeling, and then take a breath. And let your body take a stretch like you're waking up for the second time today. Have a little stretch of your limbs. You can let your neck rotate and let your eyes flicker open and come back into the space, and just have a little look around with soft eyes.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for that journey.
Yeah. So what does it feel like to be in your body today?
It just reminded me I've got a body. It's not just carrying a brain. With that, does anyone have any questions?
No way. What did you feel in your body? Come on.
You know what? I forgot everyone was here, which was lovely to be in a space where lovely people, but I wanted that moment.
Had some alone time.
Alone time. And yes, I could feel. What I liked about it was I was just being mindful of pressure points, or me just sitting, or, oh, my shoes are a bit tight. You know, things you take for granted, or, stop slouching, or it's small things. Because I exaggerate that when I look at how many times I ignore my body just to I compromise a lot for the mind, just to get to the next goal. And the stresses pile on. But what I do is just say, no, I can override this. And you do. You can override those stresses. How many times have we been stressed and you're like, I'm dismantled here, but you keep going. You find that energy to keep going at the cost of something. And noticing the cost is coming out in health. Weird and wacky things start happening to your body.
That's your body communicating.
I realized that when my big toe grew another toe, and the NHS had to chop it off, and they're like, "This is freaky. Where the hell is this coming from?" I'm like, "I've been stressed." As a bad example, but
no, it's actually a very good example.
I thought I was a mutant, but
I mean, most people are suffering with gut issues, and that's closely related to them being in a constant stress state.
Yes.
And their gut takes the toll because of how our vagus nerve runs through our body. And a lot of people who, have gut issues, chronic gut issues, when they do this work, their gut heals. Isn't that wild?
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So
I would have taken just probiotics, but that's...
No, for a lot of people, probiotics, for some people, probiotics works maybe for a while.
Yeah.
We need to regulate our nervous system. We need to be present with our bodies. It doesn't take a lot to be present with our bodies, What we just did there was a little experience where you were practicing putting your attention on your physical being. Yeah. And for me, I work a lot with inviting people to live powerful, fulfilling lives by fully incarnating. What does that mean? Come into the flesh. We forget that we have a body, but our body is where so much of our magic, so many of our gifts live. And we want to feel whole. We need to whole ourselves. We need to integrate our mind, our intellect with the flesh and the impulses of our body. Yes, any questions?
I have a question. Thank you very much for your insights. Can we get you? Sure.
I don't know if it will go very far. Will it go far enough?
So that everyone can try.
Are you standing on it? You don't want to come and sit.
I'm going to get a bit more intimate. Quick couple of questions. In your work, I'm curious to know how much? How many people you find awareness have the awareness of the importance of the nervous system in their all round being? Do you find people come to you saying, I'm overly sympathetic, my parasympathetic isn't working, that sort of stuff? Do you find, are people becoming more aware in that? That's the first question. The second question is, what is it going to take, as you see it, for society to really understand the importance of the nervous system in their overall well-being?
I love these questions. So I find the nervous
Thank you,
system fascinating. There is, so much research coming out all the time. We're having to relearn what we thought we knew about it. The first question a client's coming to me telling me about their nervous system, no, absolutely not. Maybe that happens like once in a blue moon. And even when they do, they often can't understand how it's impacting their sex life or the issue that they've come along with. And secondly, yeah, I mean, what's the name of the billionaire who's like doing all this, Brian Johnson, yes, who's like trying to restore himself to a younger, and he is restoring himself to a younger biological age. And I believe that we're going to need influential role models like that to break it down, because one of the things he's done that said, hey, you may not have any money, here's something that you can do to improve your biological age very effectively, is to just notice your resting heart rate, and then to measure it and to get it slower. And that's such a funny thing. Measure your resting heart rate and now get it slower. And that, yeah, you're like, but the thing is, we actually do, when we put our attention on measuring our heart rate, our body will naturally start to down regulate us because we're putting our attention on our body. And so it's noticing what's happening in the body. So in some ways, we're a long way because, for instance, London's not going to get any quieter. We're not going to have less people around. No, like the population is growing. And our works aren't going to become less demanding, although let's see what happens with AI and all the wonderful systems and time affordances it will provide to us. But I also think that with the growing medical interventions that we have, especially around surveying what's going on in our bodies, we're getting better and better at tracking those things. And so now people have like the Aura ring so they can measure, and they have all of this data. So I feel that in a way we are going to loop into a place where we're paying more attention and it becomes more general knowledge. But I also think that the nervous system is so vast and intricate that it's maybe not so much about knowing everything as it is letting the body do what it does when we pay attention to it. And so perhaps a better question is, when are people going to start valuing their bodies more? And yes, and Gabor Mate, he's done a lot to bring more awareness to the field of that's called psychoneuroimmunology. And this is sort of like what we would have called in the past the field of hypochondriacs, right? Of like they're experiencing something and their body is expressing it this way. But now we understand that psychology and physiology are just two sides of the same coin. Whatever's happening for us psychologically, psychically, is being reflected in our nervous system, in our physiology. And it's the same the other way around. We go and exercise and we feel better, right? So I think the more that can happen, the more science that comes out that says, yes, we have brain cells in the heart and the gut. Like, people need to hear that and know that in order to take it seriously. I think that helps. But I also think that so many people are just randomly walking into magical experiences with their body that remind them. And I think one of those ways is actually through, I might be wrong, I don't have children, but I think through having children, because they have to slow down and they notice like how responsive the baby is to their nervous system. And then so they do things to keep their nervous system. My sisters just had a baby, and I'm just watched how they as a couple have really changed and transformed their way of being in order to prioritize this child. But in doing so, they've also prioritized their own nervous systems. The last thing I'll say is something that I really care about and I think should happen is like more, we have, sick days, right? I mean, I don't work for anyone, but people have sick days. And I think what we need to have instead are wellness days. Because when people say, oh, I'm going to take a sick day, they then feel they need to be sick to justify the sick day, right? So they don't try and get better through that day. They just make sure that they came across as sick through that day. And that actually has a very big impact in how our body responds to the day off. I get the day off and I don't feel guilty by still being sick versus through pursuing my wellness.
Amazing. Any other questions?
How did you learn all this? What's your journey?
Fascinating question there. Thank you.
Honestly, it sounds so odd, but I feel like there's no way that I wouldn't have landed here. Because when I look back, so many things were ushering me this way. And it wasn't any particular person. It was my body. Like my body was leading me here. And let me tell you, I had a terrible relationship with my body. Yeah, awful. From the age of about 15, things happened at school. I became self-conscious. And I left home at 16, moved very far away to finish my education and work 3 jobs. And, I started being independent then. And so all of the trauma that I suffered through living in very difficult circumstances as a youngster came up through my body, because finally I was away from the dangerous situation. And then I could my body had the safety and the space to release what was going on underneath. So our bodies are always carrying things. And when clients get emotional with me in a session, and then they try and like suppress their tears, and I say, no, this is really good. Like, let the body bring it up, because otherwise you're just gonna be holding on to it longer. So that came up and through a series of events, I made my body very, very wrong. My body hates me. It's so angry with me. Look at the things it's doing. I developed an eating disorder. And I had terrible social anxiety. I'd lock myself inside and think that I'm just too unworthy to be around anyone. And it was through it was really in that trip. I went on a trip. My boss was sexually harassing me, and my friend convinced me to quit. So I quit, and I went traveling. And I hated it. Everyone's like, traveling's so great. I hated it because I was in such a bad place personally, so how can I couldn't enjoy it. And then I ended up on this island. And turns out it was Tantric Island. Didn't know that was a thing. It was in Thailand. And I didn't know this at this point, okay? And I'm in this vegan cafe eating my salad and my raw slaw. And this guy comes over and hits on me, and we end up hooking up, and he initiates me into tantric sex. And I'm like, what is this? This is amazing. And I always thought that I had a really good sex life, despite like wanting to hide myself all the time. I really enjoyed sex. But I didn't realize that I was only getting off on the sex in my head. Like, I wasn't actually feeling loads of pleasure in my body. It was a real thrill, The sex was a thrill. Felt really good. This person wants to have sex with me. We're having sex in this cool way, But my body didn't feel safe enough because I didn't like it. I had all these negative associations about my body, so my body couldn't come online into the situation. With tantric sex, it's all about presence and slowing down, and so you can't really hide. It's about what you're feeling. So that night happened, and I was like, I'm going to stay on this island a little bit longer. And I stayed for 6 weeks, and there was like this little yoga university.
6 weeks, brilliant.
And so I went to this yoga university. I did an erotic rituals course. And I remember being like, I'm on this trip and I'm running out of money and I've got to go back to London soon and nothing's changed. And there were 2 courses, and one was like erotic rituals. Yum. And the other was like mindfulness and healing. And I was like, well, I have to do the mindfulness and healing course, right? Because I'm broken and I need fixing, and life is serious and I must fix myself before I get back. And I'm running out of time and I'm running out of money. And I spoke to one of the teachers and he said, well, yes, you could do the mindfulness course, but I'm sure they have those back in London, but is there anywhere that's providing like great erotic rituals courses? And I was like, I guess not. Like, thank you for the permission, let me run into what I want. And through that 6 weeks, not only did I forge a new relationship with my body based on pleasure rather than objectification, but also people don't teach you that where trauma dysregulates you, pleasure regulates. It brings healing. It really, really, truly does. And there's scientific evidence now that that's true, that pleasure actually improves our cognition. And that, of course, having pleasurable experiences with the people we're in a relationship with improves the quality of that relationship, right? If I felt like if I was having a fever right now, or if this chair was really uncomfortable, or if I were wearing pants that were too tight, I would be in endurance. And I'd be like, think back to this evening and I'd be like, that was awful. Like they would ask me to do it again. I'd be like, no. After would be like, hey, the reel's up, and I'd be like, I don't care. But because I am comfortable, because I've eaten in a way that my body really enjoys today, because I checked out the chair first, I was like, I want to make sure I'm comfortable in this thing, and I am, like, I'm having a great experience, which means that now, like, I'm gonna think all of you are really, really great because we've had this really great experience together, versus, if I was having to endure to provide a service to meet my obligation, right? So that's part of where it began. It began in other places too, but that's the story I like to tell. Yeah.
Oh, give her one club will be launching its Thai retreats. No. Final question before. No, right. We've got 2. Okay, 2 questions. Yes. I mean, if everyone else is okay.
So you spent some time explaining, so to the point around having, busy schedule, being an entrepreneur, and kind of like the masculine sort of traits and aspects with that. And also spoke to like femininity, slowing down, being more mindful. So I guess my question's, with the traditional concepts of masculinity and femininity, what can we do to kind of firstly understand what the expectations are sexually for people, and how do we kind of deal with that as well? So with the kind of traditional concepts of sexual behaviors, what is it that we could do to kind of overcome the issues that you have with that nowadays in 2025?
Okay, can you say more? So do you mean like how, like, if we're erotically relating, how we understand what our partner wants?
So more so in the workplace, you've got sort of masculinity, femininity defined, and you also have that in sort of your sexual expectations and roles. So it's kind of, how do you correlate the two? So, if you're really masculine and then naturally you're supposed to be sexually really masculine, how do you kind of work the two together? Because I know we've kind of been touching on it throughout this evening. I just thought it'd be interesting to kind of wrap that up.
Yes, okay. I'm going to start answering, and if I'm going the wrong way, will you tell me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So the first thing that I would say is all of the clients who come to see me need to work on rebalancing their masculine and feminine. So it's not like an issue that women need to be in their femininity and men need to be in their masculinity. And as I was saying earlier, like the majority of people need to learn to receive. Even if people are good at asking for what they want, they're generally not good at receiving that thing that they're given. They might go into a place of wanting more. What else can I get? Without really registering what they've just received. Or they might be racked with guilt and feel like, oh, now I need to like reciprocate and blah, 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 blah. The other piece around masculinity and femininity is interesting because I don't usually use these words, just because I try and like, because I know every body is different. And so what people need always varies from like body to body and person to person. But the other piece that I would say, which I think is touching on what you're getting to, is that we have to be intentional in how we're embodying our roles. And we have to listen from the inside. So at work and in a relationship, there is this idea of expectations, and there is pressure to fulfill them, even when they're ridiculous. And there is also a pressure in modern life to be all of these different things for different people and at different times of the day. But if we can tune in and listen to our inner authority, what I call my full body yes and my fuck no, and if we can honor it and be in integrity with ourselves, a lot of these issues get resolved and we are in balance, because our body is like, to be regulated, to be in homeostasis is to be in balance. And it's what our body is constantly trying to get itself to do. And in fact, the fascia of the body, which is the connective tissue, is the modern day explanation for our intuition. It moves 200 times faster than the other nervous system cells. And so even before we can register why we should do that thing, or why that's enough, or why we want to move towards that person or away from that person, it's because our fascia is sharing information that gets us there. And the fascia is also the part of the body that is integrating all of our experiences. So for instance, we smell something, like we smell someone, right? Mm-hmm. We smell someone, they smell good. Mm-hmm. and immediately like our more blood is flowing to our genitals, right? And even before we've registered that we're attracted to that person. So I think there is something about getting to, what does yes feel like in your body? What does it feel like? And what does no feel like in your body? And to start putting boundaries in place to honor that. And what's so cool about this as well is that there's this book called Tribe, and it's all about the war and the different wars. And this psychologist shows, or anthropologist, I think he's a psychologist. And there's this they did a retrospective study. And so these miners got stuck and they were trapped. And this is actually kind of a regular occurrence for miners. Awful. Would never want to do that job. And whilst they were trapped for like 5 days or something, like a really, really long time. And during that time, this group of men, hurly-burly men, they split into two groups of roles. And one were the leaders, who were doing the traditional masculine role of the group. And one were the feminine, who were doing the traditional feminine roles of the group. And it's incredible how when we update ourselves, everything reorganizes around us. And so I think there's something to spending time with, and I asked myself this today. My friend called me in crisis and we chatted about it. And I was like, who do you want to be today? And I asked myself that, who do I want to be today? Some days I want to be more masculine, some days I want to be more feminine, you know? Yeah. Is that helpful?
Yes, it's more of a balance. It's just, make it regulated and listening to yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you. Final question?
Sorry, a bit more political, but Yeah, I just have to say, because everyone's questions was like a bit more smooth. But I wanted to ask you, do you see a growing interest among younger people in somatic healing, or is there a resistance? Yeah, that's why I said it's a bit more political. Everyone's question is fun, my one is not.
No, I love it.
I'm talking like anyone under like 35 or something. Anything from like
I get
18 to 35. Anything from there.
I get so many young people reaching out to me. It's crazy. And I believe that the younger generation, let's say Gen Zs, they're actually much more in touch with themselves. Some would say too much. Okay. They're very in touch. They're very in touch with themselves. And because they're in touch with themselves, they are more in tune with their body. And so they may be able to name 5 different psychological conditions that's going on for them right now. But they know that because they're tracking what's happening inside of them. And also, we know that they're having much less sex than the millennials. And part of that is because they're present to not feeling safe. They're present to not feeling attracted. And they're not acting out of societal expectation because they've developed that inner authority. They don't necessarily know the way through. And you spoke to this earlier, Afzal, that they're not spending a lot of time socializing with each other. So they're missing some of these other tools that millennials may have. But there's definitely growing interest. The number of somatic sex coaches has doubled in the last 5 years. The size of the sexual wellness industry has doubled. It's, in its billions in the last 5 years. It's one of the fastest growing sectors inside of wellness. And it's still like deeply underserved. Like there's not enough people, there's not enough products, there's not enough, like people can't keep up. And because of reasons we spoke about, a lot of people don't know how to navigate this. They see a row of sex toys, they don't understand what any of those sex toys do. So I feel that this area is going to keep gaining interest across the spectrum of generations. My eldest client's in his 80s. And it's incredibly effective. And it provides us with many of the micro skills that we need in other areas of our life. So it's a win-win-win.
That helps.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're amazing talk. Thank you so much. I'm going to close it off with just one, if you can share with us one top tip.
Okay. One top tip. Anything. Can be anything?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question and then you can give it a top tip. Okay. For everyone here who's probably a business owner or entrepreneur, how do we build our business through our bodies?
Oh, I love that question. I'm going to take a breath of that question. Okay. Let's all take a breath.
So my body is saying that we follow our greatest excitement. And this kind of is an idea of Einstein time as well, which is spoken about by Guy Hendricks. And this idea is that rather than doing something because it's on our list of things to do, we should do what we have the most excitement for, and we'll do it quicker and more efficiently. And we'll move through the list and we'll eventually get to that thing. And when we do, we'll have energy for it. And we'll move, versus like if we force ourselves to do it, we'll do it half as well and it'll take twice as long.
True.
Yeah.
Because you're forever compromising, following the money, when that could be actually a disaster for our bodies, our minds, potentially.
Yes, and also, we could be so limited, even as entrepreneurs, about like where the money comes from. Right? So I could be like, yeah, I'm going to skip this event at one club tonight because I need to finish this pitch deck. And I don't realize that if I go along and I follow my greatest excitement, that I'm going to be drawing people in who want to see that pitch deck or who give me new ideas for it. And so it's not always where we think it is. And I think as business owners, as professionals, we can sometimes be chasing our tails.
Very true.
You know, even now, there's so much money flowing in the market, and people are like, such a terrible time. You know, it's like such a terrible time to be like getting new clients. And there's so many people of high net worth leaving London, and, you know, whatever. You know, there are so many people coming in and paying, you know, making great investments into sex coaching with me. Like,
Someone's made a lot of money.
there's plenty to go around, but we have to free ourselves, you know. And I think the reason people don't do that is because it's safer to be in their comfort zone, and it's safer to know. And it's like that crash night that you did. What was it called?
Crash Club.
Crash Club. No one wants to fail, you know. And actually, when I saw this on LinkedIn, I was like, what is my biggest failure? And I was like, I need to start taking some more risks, you know. So yeah, so I'd say follow your greatest excitement.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Aisha Paris.